Fresh coming off my Netflix watch list was the Full Metal Alchemist movie. This is something that I was very curious to see whether this was going to be good or not. Now, the current track record for me and live action anime adaptations has not been great. I mean, I'm still trying to get the sour taste of Death Note out of me, but also as well, we know that the Japanese every now and then can do a decent live action movie. Like the Rurouni Kenshin trilogy was really good. The Attack on Titan ones was bad, and well, basically most of their live actions are really bad. But was it going to be a difference though with Full Metal Alchemist? Kind of. It's a weird, real weird movie that does some moments great and then looks really cheap in others, and then, oh boy, the last, I guess say the last core of the movie is, yeah, it goes Resident Evil. Like, it goes Resident Evil fucking dumb, so let's just go straight into this. So, I take it for a lot of people that this might be their first time ever seeing anything Full Metal Alchemist, but for a quick little synopsis, it follows the two Elwick brothers, being Alphonse and Edward. Now, their whole main job is being state alchemists, and their main goal is to grab a Philosopher's Stone so that they can return their bodies to normal. As main thing is like reason he's called the Full Metal Alchemist is because he has a prosthetic arm and leg, and meanwhile his brother Alphonse is in complete full suit of armor. Now, they don't really touch too much like into all of the stuff with like the characters throughout this entire story, but you do get to see at the start of all of them as kids and all that when clearly their mother fell ill and they were like, we need to go and bring our mother back to life. However, it went poorly wrong, and this caused Alphonse to lose his body and then Edward to lose a couple of limbs through this. Now, I want to say something about like, because this movie follows a good chunk of the manga. I'd like to say it follows like the first 20 or so episodes, I'd like to say, of the anime. Like, it tries to, like, throughout all of that part, you get to go through, like, moments and all that. Like, you get to go against, like, the guy the holy man who's, like, there, like, tricking the entire town. You've got, like, not to mention Shao Tucker is a big part of this movie, and also as well, like, from what we can see, the homunculus. Like, they try and follow it slightly to a T, with obviously being like, we also need to cut this out for time. But then the movie decides to go into its full kind of original ending synopsis, and it is just weird. And I honestly don't know if they try to end this movie with a slight sequel in the making, because there are just things where it's like, wow, that character just didn't get resolved, or that, never mind, we don't know what's going to happen to him. It's a fucking weird bag of things that this movie is, and definitely I want to at least bring up some points about this movie, like some pluses about it. One, I think I actually really like the backgrounds on it. All of this was shot in Italy, and you can tell it is beautiful. I absolutely really like when they're chasing after the priest, and it's like you see the whole like scenery everywhere. It's great. One thing I actually didn't like normally take in with a movie a lot of the time, but the score, like the actual musical scores that they were doing in this movie were actually good. I was actually really liking some of the stuff like they were picking for like some of the like big scenes. I was like, oh wow, that's actually some really good music that we're going through. Some of the characters are nailed. Like, they absolutely nailed it. I think definitely out of all of the characters on that, I think Hawkeye, I think Hughes, I think like Winry's pretty good. I actually like Alphonse CGI for the most part. I thought like out of all the like the CGI, which there is a lot in this movie, it's the best looking part of it. Clearly that they don't have to animate anything on the top part. They just, all they gotta do is the body. And I think there is some parts where it is an actual suit of armor, but I think as well Alphonse is pretty much CGI throughout the entire movie. But that's a lot of the good things. I think, like, especially with some of the moments that they do follow from the original series, like there are some good moments. There's a weird change of characters though. One of them being like the complete and utter, like, just removing like a character, kind of replacing him with a different one, and that's like probably a very important character in the series. And I don't want to mention too much about like it, but I think people who have seen the series before know who the character is missing. But again, like, I've heard people like reference that they take some stuff from the 2003 show, Personally, I haven't watched the 2003 show. I've only seen Brotherhood numerous times. But the biggest problems with this movie, and when it started to fall apart for me, was a lot of it didn't help that apart from Alphonse, the CGI is not good in this movie. It looks really bad in a lot of places. Also as well, like Edward, every time I could not just look at him properly because Ed's like hair wig thing looks terrible. The outfit is alright, but he really looks like he's a shitty cosplayer throughout the entire movie. It does not look good, and it's like every time I kind of looked at Ed, I was like, yeah, it just is not working, and it's like, it just looks dumb when I'm looking at the main protagonist. It's like, yeah, and not to mention, it's like, this is a weird thing, like, and this is someone that's like, just watches movies and just, you know, doesn't really think about much, so I don't really think too much, like, as I said, like, musical scores, or like, too much with like, oh, look at that scene, that looks a little bit dodgy. But I noticed there was some really iffy editing throughout this movie, where it's like, you can clearly tell when this scene starts here, and it's like, oh no, this is a brand new scene, like, set, and you can tell, like, it just didn't feel like it was very, like, edited very well, and that's saying someone who does shit editing as well, that if I can fucking notice that, then anyone else has noticed that. It tries to cram in as much material as possible. Like I said, it tries to, I like to say it goes about 20 episodes or so into the series. Like, it tries to cram in, like, a bunch of stuff. Like, you know, we're talking about, like, the first couple of episodes, adding in, like, the arc into there as well. Then they just skip stuff, like a huge plot point. And then it's like, why is this character acting like this, even though, like, they're supposed to go through this huge change here? Like, especially you kind of see, like, in this movie as well, that, like, Alphonse comes off as a kind of a bit of a dick, but in Brotherhood it makes more sense, so it's like, oh no, you can understand why he's upset in this part. In this bit, he just listens to some random dude and just, like, accepts it. Like, and, like, honestly, the worst part of the movie is the last part of the, like, the last, like, quarter of the movie, where it legit turns into Resident Evil, is actually really dumb, and it has really fucking bad CGI for it. Like, these dumb looking monsters in there that look hideous and horrible, and it's just like, even as well, there was one really bad bit where you see Gluttony open up the chest, and you see him, like, chasing these policemen down the road, and it looks so stupid. It looks so goofy as hell on there. It's like, there's just so many moments on it, and it's a shame because, like, out of every character, like I said, Ed looks bad. I think Envy looks really bad as well, like, when you see him on screen. But then again, it's like, I think they got the right characters for a lot of them. I actually liked Winry in this movie. I liked Al in this movie. Definitely I'd say, and all that, like, Mustang was a hit or miss, because he's honestly just such a small role in this movie. You don't know what to say. Like I said, Hugh was perfect. I think Hugh, out of everyone, was the best character in the entire movie, and the actor nailed him for me. And it's like, that's a character I, like, really enjoy a lot, but especially Mustang's, like, one of my favorite characters in this series. It was a little bit disappointing to see, like, him honestly getting very little screen time, I felt, and also as well, just kind of, honestly, the actor was just, like, just being dumb, grumbly, like, you know, Alchemist, like, stay at the law, and all this shit, you know, like, overall, like, I don't know, like, I think at the end of the day, I still like this movie, but if anything, I wouldn't say it's an amazing movie, I wouldn't say it's a must-watch, but it is so much of a better attempt at other franchises than what we've had before. It's a little bit more acceptable, but then again, like, FMA's got, like, a very huge pedigree, and it's like, you notice a lot of things, especially as someone that's rewatched Brotherhood a number of times, you can be like, oh, that little moment with those characters, you know, like, it's just the little things. And also as well, a huge thing that was missing out of this movie was its world building. Like, I felt like it was such more, like, on a smaller scale than, you know, when you think about when you watch, like, Fullmetal Alchemist, you think of the world, you think about how this thing will affect this part of the country, and then the politics in there, and the shading in it, and that's the problem. They try and shoot this stuff. Like, also, a character, Scar, isn't in the movie, but they do mention, like, literally in the last 5 minutes of the movie, it's like, oh yeah, Ishvar, like, yeah, that place, and it's like, so I guess he's there, I guess he's a character, but who fucking knows? Like, I don't know if Raph's in the, like, if that was supposed to be Raph, like, there's a lot of things in there, but I'm kind of curious as well if some of this stuff was in the 2003 version. Like, it's just so goddamn weird. I honestly don't know what else to say, like, about the movie, but I think it's a 6. I think, if anything, it's fine. Like, I enjoyed it. But, like, if anything, if it wasn't for the third, like, the last, like, quarter of the movie, I would probably give this movie, like, a 7.5. Like, I thought it was really good then, but that last half really dropped down, and I could see a lot of people being turned off by the movie by then. But, I don't know, like, honestly, I recommend this to the FMA fans if you want to see a different twist on some kind of characters, but then, like, you're there to see, like, oh, here's, like, how these characters are being portrayed, and then they just follow a lot of the material, and it's like, no, let's abridge this part, or let's change this part around here. It's a weird movie, and I feel like the more I talk about it, the more I'm just more thinking of, like, the last part than I am the rest of the movie, because, like I said, there are good moments in this movie, but those moments are not because of this movie, it's because of the original source materials, because of Brotherhood, it's because of the manga, and, like, of the original series as well. So, overall, I think it's probably the same place as, like, Sacred Star of Milos, like, overall. So, I'm curious to see what you guys think in the end of the day and all that, like, how this stacks to the other two movies that we've had before. So, kind of curious to see what you guys think. But that's all for me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys, though, next time.